Hey Rockstars, Beth Azor here from the Retail Leasing Playbook podcast, where I go through each week a chapter or two from my book, the Retail Leasing Playbook. This week we're going to discuss chapter 35 and chapter 36. Chapter 35, why your sign calls should get extra scrutiny. I love when leasing agents track how many vacant spaces do you have, how many call-ins do you get each week, and how many of those are qualified. Do you get 10 calls a week? Do you get 10 calls a day? And when I say qualified, the way I define qualified is they have other locations, meaning experience, and they have cash. It's obviously hard to find out if they have cash, but I think if you ask the right questions, you can determine that. My estimate is that less than 5% of all your calls in off your signs are qualified. So instead of chasing your tail, running around, showing space to people who call in, spend an extra few minutes on that initial phone call getting information. How do you get the maximum amount of information? You do it before doing one thing. Ask and ask and ask as much and as many questions as you can before you give them the rent. Up until the point that you give them the rent, they want to impress you and they'll respond and give you as much information as you ask. Now, if you start asking 20, 30, and 40 questions, they will get a little irritated. So you need to figure it out and get a good rhythm. In the book, there is a list of all of the questions that I think it's important to ask. Do you have other locations? Why are you picking this market? Why did you call on my center? Have you researched other centers? What kind of budget are you looking for? How much money are you going to invest? Yada, yada, yada. So as many questions as you can ask while you're on the phone and before you give the rent, the better, so that you don't rush out and show space and you don't have adequate preparation and information. Chapter 36, the title is Always Say the Rent Is. If you know me, you know one of my pet peeves, and I know you probably have figured out I have a few of those, is when we say I'm asking, quote unquote, or I am quoting. So I'm quoting $20 a square foot, or I'm asking $20 a square foot. Don't do that, because what that does is it screams to the prospect that you are negotiable. And why would you want to do that? So I always just say, I say very confidently, the rent is $40 a square foot, or the rent is $25 a square foot triple net. The rent is. So get the words quoting and asking out of your vocabulary, please. That's it for this week's podcast of the Retail Leasing Playbook. I hope you enjoyed those two chapters. And if you do enjoy the podcast, please share it, please like it, or please leave a little note how much you like it so that others will listen too. Thanks, Rockstars. See you next week.